Hello.
How are you,
I
Danni?
don't like it as much as sitting next to you. It's so nice when we get to catch up and in person. And yeah, how are you?
Oh, well, like you said, well-travelled and saw lots of countryside, whether it be in New Zealand or into New South Wales or back again. And
Are you
the,
gold?
the
Are
wheels
you
keep turning.
They do. Are you going platinum now with Qantas or Virgin?
I'm not that clever. I probably should add up my frequent flyer Ks and miles, but I'm a bit slack that way. I just sort of usually just buy it and head over and do what I need to do.
How was New Zealand? I haven't been to New Zealand for probably, I reckon it'll be like 12 years ago since I was in New Zealand. How was it? Did you have fun?
Yeah, actually, it really was a surprising. The quick trip I just came back from, it was only a 5-day trip. Flew over Wednesday morning and back on Sunday evening, and worked the Waitangi Day, so February 6th, which is their major public holiday, and a bit like our Australia Day, but February 6th is theirs. And so it was on a Thursday, so I flew over Wednesday. I worked the Outram Rodeo, which is one of their biggest. It's always on February 6th, and it's about 10 kilometres outside of Dunedin in the South Island.
Yes.
And it was a typical New Zealand day, that one. It was about it was rainy for the first part. It stopped raining sort of just before 10 a.m., just after we'd started probably the first or second portion of the rodeo competition. And it ended up being quite nice. It was we might have hit 18 degrees Celsius that day, but it just stayed overcast. The wind didn't pick up, and ended up being a lovely day to rodeo. And at the completion of announcing and working with my brother Brent Cann, he was working on the music and sound and basically giving me the statistics of the riders. So he had all that homework in front of him, and then I was able to do the color commentary and spotlight a few more rules if people needed a little bit more understanding. But after Outram, I sang then on the truck bed for about 90 minutes after the rodeo was finished, and then we packed up and moved on over on the Friday to Invercargill, which is a Southland rodeo. So it's probably the furthest south rodeo in the world. And normally, you get the cool breeze from the south right off of Antarctica. But believe it or not, on that Friday when we were setting up, it got to 27 degrees Celsius, and they were dying. So they thought, oh, this is ridiculous. But anyway, even Saturday, the rodeo day, it still topped out at 24 degrees, and it was just a lovely day. And I did the same thing. I sang a 90-minute set after the rodeo had been completed with for sponsors and the Cowboys and Cowgirls, just to chill out and just finish up their weekend in fine form.
Tell me, like you've been in the rodeo for a long time, and you sent me a fantastic picture earlier today that if I had Scott here, I might know how to put it on the screen, but I don't because it's in my phone. But I would love to put it up later. But you've been in rodeo for a long time, and not just in Australia. You've seen rodeo in America, in New Zealand, everywhere. Is it the same? Is it the same feeling when you go to any one of those shows? Is it worldwide? Does rodeo have that same atmosphere?
Well, you ride at some of those big level events in the United States and Canada. It's really hard to compare. Australia's biggest, like the PBR Australia, they do a fantastic job, but they run exactly the same model as the US brand. So it gives you that same feel about the business, and because it is a massive show. When it comes down to the rodeo side of it, I guess the one part of it that's really cool, I guess, in the United States and Canada, they're very patriotic, as you've seen in footage. Always got the American flags. They're always doing tributes to the armed forces and first responders. And it's a very pride and place part of the cowboy way of life, because I think they're promoting in the sense that God must be a cowboy in the old Dan Seals song that sums it up. And I think knowing that is instilled in our DNA. That's what makes rodeo special. And it doesn't matter where you are. If you really want to be competitive, then rodeo is a pretty cool sport.
Absolutely, it is. And it's interesting, some of the things that you use to describe rodeo there, it's very similar in music, some of those things. It's that
There's a
same.
reason it all keeps revolving around.
It is. It's in your blood. It's hand in hand, isn't it? Chris has popped in and he said he can't stay, but he's going to watch the replay later. So hi, Chris, and I hope you're enjoying the replay when you watch this. It's always lovely to see you join in. Jonathan has popped in and he said to say hello. I love your new profile picture. That is gorgeous. That's with I can't quite see actually. Is it with? Oh, let us know. I can't quite see. I think it is, but just tell me. I don't want to. Prue is watching. We've got lots of people popping in, so thank you for joining, everybody. Larry, what has last year you were just as busy, and you have. I know you've got some amazing songs ready to go. 2025, and I can't believe I can say 2025. It doesn't feel real, but has started really, really busy. You've got a new song coming out this week. Craven Country. I've heard it. I absolutely love this track. Tell us a little bit about it and why you've chosen now to release.
Well, middle of 2023, I was able to venture across to the United States. There's a couple of reasons. Obviously, I've got a big connection with the US. There's a lot of friends there. I college rodeoed when I was 17. I took a one-way flight to Powell, Wyoming, and rodeoed for Northwest College just outside of Cody, near Yellowstone National Park. It was a really tough place to go to school. And anyway, from there, I also had a guitar in my hand on a regular basis. And that was pretty much one of the first things, besides a new set of Wrangler jeans I bought, was a guitar. And I first went to the United States. And it was while I was laid up. I mean, let's go right back to 1989. It was early 1990. It was a week before I turned 19, and a bull stood on me and crushed 2 vertebrae in my lower back. And so I had to heal up from that. And when I was in the downtime, the guitar went first and foremost at the time, and I ended up transferring and to a college in Oklahoma, just outside of Tulsa, and actually have an Associate of Arts degree in music, which translated to a Diploma of Education here in music, specifically country music, from Claremore, Oklahoma, from 1991. And and just that affiliation between the US and myself, just because I've got so many friends, I've got family over there now. The kids have all decided they want to try and make their own way, and all 3 of my kids have moved over to the United States, which obviously I wanted to visit them all. But I set aside 10 days that I would fly into Nashville, and through my producer, who's an expat Aussie, Michael Flanders, and his son Caleb, who do a lot of my production work. They set up some writing room appointments with some of the world's best songwriters that are based around Nashville. And I was able to catch up with an old Aussie mate of mine, a Central Queenslander, who's sadly, his dad passed away a few years ago, but his dad used to always come up to me while I was doing live broadcasts in Rockhampton for the big Kicks Country Network when I worked for those guys prior to 2013. And Richie, he said, come on over and stay with us for the time. And he gave me his old Chevy pickup so I could drive to these songwriting appointments. But anyway, we made enough time that we could work on a couple of songs ourselves together. And this particular track is one I had an idea for quite a while. And I guess the alliteration sort of sells itself anyway, Craven Country. And it's just talking about the hustle and bustle of life being too busy in the city. And sometimes you've just got to throw the rods in the back and head on out, run down a dirt road, whether it's out to a secluded beach area that you can fish on your lonesome, or just with your mates, and or else go out to the lake or the creek and see what you can pull in. So.
Absolutely. And it is a really, really good track. And I know I said that to you when I listened to it. It gave me so much excitement. And I know that's something that you've been really enjoying and know that people are going to feel from this song. When I was talking to you before we went live, I said, are you nervous for Friday? And I know that you've done this for so long now, and you are still doing it and loving it. But is there something that you really look forward to with release day? Do you get lots of messages from people? How does music usually work for you on release day?
Well, that's a good question. I guess, it's another one of my babies, and I guess it's a personal baby because I had a hand in writing the song as well, and that means a whole lot to me these days. And hence the new album that should be released come May this year, mid-May at the latest. I'm shooting for, and it's spotlighting my songwriting and up until this point, my previous releases, I'd sort of went 50-50 with original material that I had a hand in writing to covering quite a few favorite covers. A lot of them were sort of hidden hits, I guess, from artists that a lot of people hadn't heard of before. But I was fortunate enough in my travels to be able to hear them and redo my own take on those songs. But so this is something very exciting for me in the sense that this new song has a different feel. It's fresh, using a longtime friend who was just 16 years old when I first met him. He's a year younger than my eldest son, and he was singing outside of Outback Jack's when it used to be in Tamworth, just down from the Trek Centre, and he was sort of the meet and greeter with music as they were walking in to sit down for their table. A young man by the name of Cameron Cusack. Well, Cameron's been a fan of my stuff ever since he heard my first rodeo album a couple of years after that. And anyway, we just happened to touch base, and because he used to come through Rockhampton and play at the Great Western Hotel on a regular basis, and sort of we'd touch base every so often. And I said, Cam, this would be a pretty cool song to do as a duo. And I think we can have a bit of fun with it. And the fact that I said to Michael and Caleb, I said, I think it travels along really well. And it reminded me of the feel of, if you're a big Tim McGraw fan, from his Everywhere album back in the late 90s.
Yes, I have that album.
1998, that Just to See You Smile, it travels along like that song. And that was the feel I really wanted to give it. So it was one of those songs that you'd put on, if it was on the radio or it was on a compact disc back then. You'd put it on, you'd wind the window down, when you put your arm out on the armrest and just cruise on down the highway, because you were just getting out of the hustle and bustle and finding a slower place in the world.
Absolutely, and that's actually a brilliant answer, because that's exactly interesting that you said it, because that album, it does remind me of that particular time. And I know a lot of people today in music, we still go back to those 80s and 90s country songs, don't we? We all love to travel back into those times. So to have a song coming through that's new, that has that feel to it, is really exciting.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm a 90s country tragic, because I was in a band in the mid 90s and we were a today's country band. So it was all that late 80s, early 90s, the Garth Brooks, the Clint Blacks, the Mark Chestnuts, the Tracy Lawrences, Joe Diffie, Diamond Rio, Vince Gill. The list went on and on, but they were some of my favorites. And people just love to dance to those, whether it was line dancing or where I was up in Montana, they love to two-step. They love to do a country version of the jive, which is the jitterbug over there. So you don't actually see that much line dancing, ironically, in Montana. Line dancers only get up during the break in the band. When the bands are on, the line dancers go off, and they have to have a partner, and they get out in two-step. And it's pretty funny, actually.
Do you line dance? Do you do any dancing?
I don't line dance. I actually really do enjoy two-stepping and cowboy jitterbugging. And so I love to do the fancy swing spins and turns. And I don't do too many of the flips. I used to when I was a bit younger, with a few of the girls that I used to get out on the dance floor. But these days it's more about just being kind of smooth and do the fancy arm movements, and it's kind of funny, like some of the moves that we do. We can do the window, we can do the table, we can do the pretzel, And it's kind of funny. That's some of the moves that you'll do in a cowboy jitterbug.
Oh, we're all going to go and Google that now to watch people doing this so that we can all just enjoy it. I really want to get over there and do some shows over there so I can see and feel this in person. It sounds so much
It is a whole lot of fun. Living the honky tonk dream is pretty cool. I must add. And the other thing that I used to love when I got to sing at, because you sort of went in stages as a band. At first, you'd play in the smaller clubs, then you get the bigger clubs with the dance halls. So you had to sort of set up things like the old classic ballroom, the country dances that they used to, the dance bands used to set up like a 3-song dance mix. So you'd do that same dance to 3 songs before you change
it.
Yes, so that's what we used to do with the dance band that I had in Montana, basing it off of what I'd learned in my late teens, just before I went to the States. I played in a band in the Western Downs and called Country Blue. So there you go. That's a real flashback to 1988. And anyway, from there, we had couples that would just follow us wherever we went. They would go where we were playing, and that was a really cool feeling, I suppose. But you sort of did this progression. So you had the little bars, the dingy bars. That was your first step. Then you got into the honky tonk bars with the dance floors. And then you were lucky enough, if you had the connections, which I was fortunate enough. I was riding professional rodeos at the time and through the amateur circuits through Montana and Wyoming. And so what the next step would be to get to do some street dances. And at a lot of those little country rodeos that they have in Montana and Wyoming, they would actually close off one of the main streets, and sometimes they'd even have a band facing away from each other. So they'd set up in the middle of the street. So one stage would set one way, and the other stage would set the other. So you'd had a rock band on the one side, and then a country band on the other, and then you'd just walk up the street and down the street to wherever you wanted to go. Or they had it at both ends and put like all the food stands right in the middle. So that sort of separated it too, either way. So, but it was, that, and we were lucky enough to do some of those street dances at some of the big rodeos in Montana, and that was a whole lot of fun. So it's one of my favorites was at a little town called Bridger, Montana, which was about 80 kilometers south of Billings, Montana, on just about right on the border between Montana and Wyoming as you were heading towards Cody, which that was a whole lot of fun.
You have amazing. You've done so much. You were saying before that when you first went over there, you were only 17. That would have been so daunting. I can't imagine now going over there and doing that. To do that at 17, that's huge.
Oh, things have changed so much. I think of with my kids living and working over there, they can, like, the one son sends me a Snapchat, just to what he's up to and nearly daily. Whereas I remember mum and dad saying, things are pretty tight. But telecom back then was giving a deal that you could talk to the US for 30 minutes for $6. And so at about 28 minutes, there was like 2 ringtones would go down the line, and then you knew that you nearly had to wrap things up. Otherwise the cycle would restart again. So I could reverse charge once a month, and that was a big thing. So, and in between that, if I had a bit of a win at the rodeos, then I'd call myself and just check in and let everybody know what was going on. And things have changed so much. But I was 17. I even had to get the ag science teacher to sign as my guardian so I could actually get my college rodeo card, because I was already straight onto the college team, and I was still under 18 at the time, which in US standards, when generally they're going to college for a 2-year community college, which obviously directly transfers to the bachelor's degree to the big universities. But generally speaking, they're all 18, 19, even 20 years of age. So here I was, this fresh-faced kid that couldn't even grow a mustache back then. I hadn't even got to the bum fluff stage.
Would you change anything? I love that. Would you change anything? Would you do it again?
If one of those things where what I know now, if I'd have known it back then, I probably would have stayed here in Australia for maybe at least 2 more years and just went over when I was about to be 20.
Yes.
And but it was more in the rodeo dream sort of thing at that time, and that was, I was just thinking, well, if you're allowed to get your first rodeo card with college, and then you could have four cards up to the point that you turn 24. So if you went over when you were 20, you'd fit in that group really nicely, and when you'd basically be ready for graduation, you'd be at your max to finish out your rodeo career in the collegiate series, basically. So which was, something I didn't know as a fresh-faced 17-year-old kid, and too scared to get off, basically. So that's why I won as much money as I did. So
wow, it's good to hear. I love this, and it's just coming through the years of rodeo and music, that experience you've been able to bring back into Australia and help with people going through the industry, but also you're able to put it into your music as well. And
that all stems. It's a bit of a joke, really, because my eldest son said quite a few years ago, he just went over to the United States. This would have been about 2012 or 13, I guess it was, and he told me, Dad, he said it's all about the hashtag. You got to get a hashtag. And I'm thinking, oh, what do I do as a hashtag? And I said, well, out of all of what I've lived, I've always lived the cowboy life. And if I haven't lived it, I won't sing about it. So why not hashtag cowboy country?
Exactly right. I love that. Oh, my goodness. So what have you got coming up next? Have you got any shows? I know, as you said, you're not heading back to New Zealand until the end of the year. What's coming up? You're releasing this Friday. Have you got some shows around the release date and moving forward?
Yeah, we've got a couple coming up. I've got a Sunday sesh just down the road at Nanango at the Commercial Hotel on Sunday, the 9th of March, which obviously that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And then we've got the South Burnett Music Awards. I'm actually nominated for two music awards alongside of my good mates, young Paul Ricketts and Dean Perrott, and I'm up for even South Burnett Hall of Fame contender, which really shocked me, I guess. But I'm very privileged to be a part of the listing, and from there I've got a lot sort of in the works for May, in between the rodeos, and working with Cameron. We're going to pair up around that May Day weekend. So the first weekend in May, I have to work the Blackwater Rodeo, which is on the Saturday of that long weekend. And we're just working out that we could probably do a gig either in Emerald on the Friday night or Billawheeler, and then come back on the Sunday, because Monday's a holiday, and hopefully we can snag a gig that promotes the single and the album, which will be a pending release about that time around Rockhampton as well. So we should be able to do some pretty cool shows there. Got a big announcement that I should be added to one of the biggest country music festivals in the country, but it hasn't been released yet. And but it is locked in, and pretty excited about that, because I was an MC there for about 12 years, and now I'm going back as a singer. So I think that's kind of an interesting swing around. And from there, a few other big festivals later on in the year. But just I've got a few weddings to play in September, which is kind of cool. Yeah, one at the Bunya Mountains, which is beautiful, and then at the Dusty Hill Winery as well, just outside of Mergen in Queensland. So it's coming along nicely, and trying to not fill up my announcing schedule with rodeos and bull rides as much, so I can get out and sing, and had such a great time with the band at the Legends Bar at West Leagues there at Tamworth, and from all accounts they're looking to book us for a couple nights at least for next Tamworth, which I'm very excited about. And the boys just really put in the hard yards, and we just had a whole lot of fun that night. We got to jam with the band, and I think it showed a lot of people that you can't buy experience, and
No.
I've been around the traps a fair bit, even though they may not have seen me in a band setting very much, but when we get the opportunity, we make the most of it. And I'm looking to really get out with the band as much as I can. If not, probably call my mate Chris Staff, and we'll do some duo work as much as we can.
Yep. Do you like doing the mix between band shows, duo, acoustic sets? Do you actually enjoy those changes between?
Oh, definitely. I really like the band side of things. If I can do the band, obviously it always comes down to budgets, and
of course,
and sadly there's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there, and they don't really look back at what you did in the past before we had mobile phones and everything, which is a bit of a sad thing, because they kind of see how much experience I had, and and it's hard to keep selling yourself in this modern social media world, because of, I'm not in that total generation as I've tried to stay up with it. But, when you're trying to create music and stuff, you just don't have the total time to put in those hard yards to keep everybody updated with everything you're doing. But, I'm just really looking forward to the new album. Like I said, off air when we were just catching up initially, setting up for this interview, that, I could just call it Larry Cann, the songwriter, because this is the first album release that I've had a hand in writing every one of the songs. So you'll have the previous releases that I've done in the last 12 months, Only a Cowgirl, the Tamworth Gold track, Rides You Want to Remember, they'll be included as well. And but then we've got some really diverse stuff. We've got Cowboy's Hands, which is showing it's the heart of the man. That's one of the big punch lines on that song. Got a fun song called Coastal Cowboys, which is telling a story about a few of my mates that used to catch waves through the week, and then they'd crack gates on the weekends riding bulls. So
best of both worlds.
Yep. They were either hanging 10 or making 8. That was their dream. And so there's that. There's a really beautiful duet that I'm doing with another one of Australian country music legendary female singers. Shazza Lee's actually singing with me, and she took up the invitation on a song called Saddle Up and Ride, and it's a romantic look at why you can't drive there, you can't fly there, you've just got to saddle up and ride sometimes, and it's that freedom on 4 legs that you can't explain. And we've taken some inspiration. We've taken some inspiration from those Ian Munsick songs. If you've actually delved into some of that Wyoming Cowboys songs, and it's very, very pretty. The melody structure and what the boys have done in the studio on the instrumental track is just something very special. Yeah. There's another song that makes me a bit homesick for my second home, Montana. A song called Somewhere in Montana. And
I think we've spoken about this one too.
Yes, and that was one I wrote with Chris Burgenis while I was in Nashville. And he sort of speaks basically every line that he'll talk in a conversation seems like it should be a line in a song. And apparently Harlan Howard was a little bit like that, the great songwriter that wrote for everybody through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And but Chris said, "Oh, where have you been?" And I said, "Oh, in Montana." I said, visiting my eldest son and his family and meeting my little granddaughter. And he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Somewhere in Montana, there's a girl with a porch light on."
Isn't it incredible?
Said she'll wait forever, but will she wait alone? He said, "You better write that down." And sure enough, that was the start of the song.
I wish I had a brain that worked like that. That is incredible.
It was a crazy conversation, put it that way.
It'd be interesting, to see, obviously that's just songwriting over such a long period that it just naturally flows. But it'd just be such an interesting person to sit and just have a conversation with the detail that he pictured.
And that was the thing, I think, being able to do those songwriter sessions that Michael Flanders had set up for me. I was with Scott Barrier. I was with Lynn Wilbanks, who's wrote for Dolly, just among other people. Chris has wrote for everybody, anything from Tim McGraw to Lisa Brocop from Canada to the late Chris Ledoux. You know, he said, "Oh, I won't tell you who I've wrote for. I'll just give you a playlist." And the playlist is about
an enjoyable playlist too.
And he's had so, you know, and then to write with Bill DeLuigi and Kirsty Manor, who wrote Austin for Blake Shelton. You know, it was just really, really something to pinch yourself over. And but the way that each one of them had their own little quirks on how they put together their artistry of songwriting, that was what was fascinating to me. And to be able to basically shut the rest of the world off in my normal crazy life to concentrate on songwriting. And I know that was why I was able to write 9 songs that were totally different in 7 days.
Yep.
And so talk about making the most of the moment, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you now, songwriting now, since doing that, do you set aside time? Because for me, when I write, it's usually when it pops into your head at whatever ridiculous time in the morning, obviously when you don't want it to. But when doing that, is that something that you can now actually do, set aside time, and it just starts to flow, having that, watching them do it and learning how they do it?
Yeah, I guess, you know, I was fortunate enough to do songwriting as a study course while I got my music degree back in Oklahoma way back when. But, you know, to be able to see how these other guys went about their craft was really, really cool. But I guess nowadays, you know, I'm on the road a lot, going to different events. So obviously I see different things and think of different lines here and there, and I'll scribble those down. And a lot of it's, just in conversation, or just where I am or what I'm doing and what I see. So, you know, from there, you can sort of throw a few different ideas around. And probably the hardest part of the songwriter is if you're just doing it on your own, and that's where the co-writing side of it comes in.
Yes.
Sometimes you get that writer's block, and or the quality of what you've started off has dropped off a little bit. And that's when, if you've got that extra ears and mind to put in their 2 cents worth, they can pick up from a slightly different angle, and it's just go from there. And you know, on the last song that I wrote for the album, I was using Scott Barry, and I've collaborated on a few songs: Cowboys Hands, Rides You Want to Remember, and Saddle Up and Ride, and Coastal Cowboys. And you know, we just have a connection. But I said, he got tied up with family stuff in the States, and he's in Nashville. And I said, look, I'll see if I can write it on my own. If I need you, I'll let you know how I go, and if I need to tidy things up. And anyway, I had a pretty good start on this song from the story that it was about the old fella that I worked with when I was a young bloke, and I was helping him work his stud cattle. He had some Murray Grey cattle that he was showing, and he was in his 70s, and he was an old dozer driver, and his knees were buggered. And anyway, he'd be walking along, and his knee would just pop out. And so you just, as a young fellow, I go, whoa, I just have like the dry heaves. It's like, oh, that looks painful.
They do look awful.
and then he'd pop it in, and he'd sit or stand back up a bit more straight, and he goes, oh, I got many good reasons for drinking. And anyway. Anyway, from that story, that's the inspiration of the last song that we've just started to track now in Nashville that Michael's working on now, and his son Caleb, and so it's many good reasons for drinking, and it turns around at the end. It's going to be a flat out 2/4, and we're going to give it a bluegrassy type feel, and
I'm looking forward to that.
It should be a whole lot of fun. Totally different than anything else that I've actually recorded like that. But I wanted to do a 2/4 song. And I thought, well, it was time to do one like that and just have a bit of fun. And I just made it that, you know, I picked on all those workplaces that people don't like doing, like stretching out fence lines and cleaning out tanks and all the real tough jobs whenever there's heat involved.
You don't want to do.
Got many good reasons for drinking, and then at the end, it just turns around. You just need one.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for this song. I can't wait for your album, but I can't wait for this song too. It sounds, I love a song with bluegrass style to it. I love that sound. And I can't wait to hear like that. I'm going to use that line going forward. That works very well for me. I don't drink very often, but when I do, that is what's going to come out of my mouth.
There you go.
So, I hope you've got time to talk. Do you have another interview to get to? Because I just looked at the time and I wanted to talk to you about your film clip before we go. Have you got time?
Yeah, I've got time.
Lovely. Tell us, because you've got the song coming out. Actually, while we're talking about it, I'm going to pop the single up while we're talking about it. You've got the single coming out on Friday. I can't believe it's here already. But you've also done a film clip for this album, for this song. Tell us a bit about that and how it came about.
Yeah, well, basically, we took footage while we had the band gig at the West Leagues Club in Tamworth, and Cameron got up and sang Craven Country with me for the very first time, which was really, really cool. So we've got footage of that, and then we did some footage down Peel Street. We went out to Chafee Dam, so out near Nundle, and so we got some really good footage out there, and Matt Fafell's doing working to put that together, and I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks, the official film clip will come out on Craven Country. And I guess probably the fun part, and I know you wanted me to mention it, is the banter at the end of the song.
Yes.
You would think that Cameron and I were in the studio next to each other, just having a good old chin wag about what we should be doing. And believe it or not, I just did a little ad lib, and then he worked around it. And they put it all together, and it's pretty magical. And I think a lot of people will just relate. Yep, it's time to throw the rods in, get off this pavement, run down a dirt road, and drown a worm. And at the end, and I think a lot of people might even use that last line that I have just to finish off the song. Just as it hits the last note musically, I go, "See you soon, world." And I think we should use it as our mental health. Our mental health main song should be Craven Country. Let's get
I love that. I think we need to get that out into this world, because I have heard this song and it is perfect for that. I cannot wait to see everybody's thoughts on the film clip, because I think when I listen to you and when I get to talk to you, you have an input in every part of what you do. And so, the film clips, the lyrics, the songs, it's all so well thought through, and we all can relate to it because it's real. And I
guess, and like I've always said, if I haven't lived it, I won't sing about it.
No.
And I've been fortunate. I've lived a very full life from different walks of life, and combining the music and the rodeo and even the radio side of me as well. So there's a lot of revolving doors there that keep going around and round in circles. But but I'm a country boy at heart, and I love, and I'm proud that I've been a cowboy for a long, long time. And I wouldn't have it any other way in that sense. And to know that my kids have sort of taken up the cowboy cowgirl gene. And they're proud of that Western heritage, even from the Australian side to the US side. There's a bit of a combination between both, as you could envision, because my first wife was from Montana. So, and that influence is made me who I am today. And I just want to be that example to others that they can relate to these songs. And I'm not trying to reinvent the country music world by my sounds. I just want songs that people can understand and realize people have lived this stuff. And if I can help somebody get on down the road by giving them a little bit of a joy in a lyric, or at least something they can relate to, that they can take away from, then I've done what I've tried to do. So.
And it's such a good, listening to it, it's such a good reminder to just, it's okay to go out and fish. you know, I think with COVID, we learnt to slow down because we had to. And for quite some time, I think we tried to keep that up. I think we learnt how much better we felt by actually having some downtime. But I think we're starting to get back to that full on go, go, go. So, you know, it's good to remind ourselves to slow down, and it is okay to just go fishing for the day.
Yeah, and just remember, even a bad day fishing is still a good day.
A good day, yes. What is it? Slim used to sing, "A bad day's fishing beats a bad day's work, beats a good day's work." Yep, absolutely. I always think of that when I go fishing. Before we do go, I know we touched on it before, but social media, websites, what is the best place to keep an eye on your upcoming music and upcoming shows, those sorts of things?
Well, if you jump on and follow my Facebook music page, Larry Cann Music, that's a really good one because it's got the pre-save link. And if you can pre-save it before Friday, that would be fantastic, because more pre-saves, well, and that's to your preferred digital music download site that you use. And I know, you know, as many as you can, go to Apple or Amazon. And then, of course, there is Spotify. And there will be YouTube as well. And we'll get the official clip up on YouTube as soon as it is available. But I'll try to work up a lyric clip if I can as well, too, along the track. That's just another little time thing that I need to squeeze in somewhere along the line. I'll just have to miss out on sleep one night, I guess.
I did that all weekend. I don't remember what my bed looks like.
But just Larry Cann Music on Facebook. I try to keep up to date with that, and doing a few more reels and keeping everybody informed, and it's all sort of intertwined and linked, and larrycannmusic.com with the W's in the front. So. Absolutely.
And I hope that I'm correct in saying, tell us what you think of the songs. Tell us what parts you enjoy and what it makes you think of, what your take on the song is, because I think artists, it's always amazing what it means to you and what it reminds you, and then each person takes a little bit of a different spin on it. So I think let us know, tell us what you're loving about it, and how it makes you feel.
For sure. We've got to vibe a little bit of cowboy country, because after all, you know, we've always got a little bit of cowboy or cowgirl in us.
Yeah, absolutely we do. Absolutely we do. And before we go, Jonathan, thank you so much for watching. I'm actually going to send you a message after the show. I want to chat to you. It's absolutely lovely having all of you on. And Mav, we saw you pop into the room. Tanya, I saw you jump in as well. Prue, there's lots of people popping in. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. And Larry, thank you for coming back, because you're trusting us, and we haven't scared you off yet. So
no, thank you, Danni, for all the work that you do behind the scenes and promoting country music, whether it's independents or you know, the bigger label artists, and you know, just the fact that your passion comes through, and that really helps us, and we're proud to be a part of the program, put it that way. And that's more than just the country music world. So we really do appreciate it, and I just hope everybody will very quickly start Craven Country.
Absolutely. Now, we have actually already put a link up for Craven Country on the page, but I will post it again in the bottom of these comments for you as well. But if you scroll back up through Country Kickback, it is there already. So make sure you jump on it. Pre-save, pre-order, depending on the platform you're watching from. There's so many things, but make sure you do, because that helps artists get onto playlists. It helps it spread. It's breaking those algorithms is so important. And you know, it's what makes us be able to continue doing these things.
Oh, for sure. And don't forget too, my duo partner on this particular song, young Cameron Cusack, he's had to deal with the floods up in North Queensland, and you know, and the one thing I congratulate him on, he's been putting on a bunch of pop-up free shows to help people feel a little bit better about those that have lost their homes and have the big cleanup to do. You know, we've seen the devastation of the heavy rains up through Ingham and those surrounding areas just north of Townsville and just south at Garoo and those places. And Cameron's been putting pop-up shows free. And, you know, please check out his music. Absolutely. And we are so excited to be able to finally bring this one to life together, and then and watch out on both of our pages to find out when we actually get to perform the song together, because
Oh gosh,
it's
I
going to
hope
be
I get to see that.
sort of like the whole young country and the more 90s country cowboy. Then that's where we'll be.
Absolutely, that is very exciting, and I really hope I get to see the two of you do it live. It's a wonderful song, so congratulations, and enjoy Friday. Enjoy it coming out, and I know this is one that you've been extra excited for, and I can certainly see why. It's wonderful. So thank you. We will be back on Wednesday night, so stay tuned. I know Scott's been so busy and he's been still doing all these wonderful things for us here at Country Kickback. So thank you, Scott. There's no Country Kickback without you and your support. Don't think it goes unnoticed. And we will see you all on Wednesday. Thank you so much again, Larry. We'll see you all soon.